Hey gang, when we left Joseph's brothers yesterday, they were in a fix again. Whew, this time they had left the feast with Joseph. They were overwhelmed. They didn't know what to think. They were getting so confused because he was being so nice to them and kind. Like, why did we deserve all this? Because we don't. And then Joseph had his servants put his royal silver cup into Benjamin's grain bag. So when they followed after him and they checked the bags, Benjamin was going to have to be put back into prison and be a slave. And the brothers were so upset. They were so brokenhearted. And Judah spoke up and he knelt before the master, not Joseph, but his guard. And he said, "Sir, please, you don't understand. When you asked about our aged father, he is at home. But he wasn't going to send Benjamin because he's already lost one son, Joseph, and now he's going to lose his second son. And if that happens, it will send him to his grave. He told us he will die. And I don't want to bring this sorrow to my house. And I told my father that if I didn't bring him back, I would be forever indebted. This would be on my shoulders. I would be responsible and I would be guilty. And I don't want that either. Please have mercy. Please take me instead. Let this boy go home to his father." Well, Joseph was hearing this, and Joseph's heart was breaking inside because he saw for the first time that his brothers were truly sorry for everything they had done. They didn't want to do it again. They didn't want to repeat the same thing and hurt their father again a second time. And Joseph was with them, and he yelled for all the servants to go out and have the doors closed. And he drew his brothers close, and he revealed himself to them. He told them that he was Joseph. They didn't believe it. He said, "Yes, I am your younger brother Joseph, the one you sold into slavery." And they couldn't talk. He said, "I know you did this evil thing, but God meant it for good. God sent me ahead these years to protect the remnant of our family and of our nation. And I have been here and I've gone through all of this, and I'm now in charge of Egypt because we've had 2 years of family. There's going to be 5 more. So I want you to go back and get our father and bring him here, and I will protect you and I will take care of you." But the Bible says that Joseph was crying so loudly and weeping so loudly at his brothers' forgiveness that the whole palace heard. And when Pharaoh found out that Joseph's brothers were there, he was so excited because he loved Joseph so much, because Joseph had been so responsible and so loyal and so faithful and had saved his country and was literally saving the world, that he sent word to Joseph and said, "You go and send for your father and all of your family, and I will send carts for their wives and their children, and I will send provisions for their journey, and I will send gifts, and tell them not to bring anything because they'll have all the best of Egypt, and I'll take care of them for the rest of their days." Joseph's brothers were overwhelmed and couldn't believe all of this was happening. And so Joseph, just like Pharaoh said, gave them carts and gave them provisions, and he gave them all new clothes, but he gave Benjamin money, extra money, and extra changes of clothes to take to his father to show him that he was alive and he was okay. So his brothers journeyed home, and they came to his father and they said, "Joseph is alive. We have seen him." And his father, just like there was in disbelief, "No, this can't be true. This just can't be true. No, Joseph was dead. He was torn apart. I saw the robe." They said, "No, Dad, he's alive. And he's sent for us. And he's now in charge of Egypt. And he's the most powerful man in the world. And God sent him there to take care of us. And he said all these things with us. And he's protected Benjamin. He's protected us. And he wants to take care of you." And Pharaoh said, "Don't even bring anything with us because we're not going to need anything once we get there." And Jacob realized and believed that Joseph was alive and that his joy returned to his heart and to his spirit. And Jacob said, "I will go to Egypt and I will see my son Joseph before I die." So some pretty bad things happened to Joseph. And even though Joseph didn't understand at the time, God was allowing things to happen to put him in a position to be a blessing to the people that God would call his nation and to the people of the world. Because if Joseph hadn't been there to interpret Pharaoh's dream, he would have known what to do. And Egypt would have been in a mess, and the world would have been in a mess. But because Joseph was there, and Joseph was obedient to God's call, and obedient to God's presence in his life, even when he didn't have to be, everyone recognized there was something different about Joseph. Everyone recognized that God was blessing him. They didn't even know God, but they saw God's blessing on his life because of his actions, because of his words, because of his deeds. It was amazing. He impressed Potiphar, he impressed the chief of the guard in the prison, and he impressed Pharaoh. And every time, he didn't take credit for any of it. Just like the Apostle Paul said, he gave credit back to God. He allowed God to bless those around him because of what God was doing in his heart and his life. And just like his dreams, his brothers bowed down to him, not once, but twice. They had no idea who it was. When they heard it the first time, they thought they were all upset and they were angry. But God had a purpose and God had a plan. So when things aren't going right, when things aren't going well, we need to take that to the Father. The Bible says, cast all our cares upon him because he cares about us. And God cares about you today. God cares about me today, just like he cared about Joseph. And God never forsook Joseph during all that time. And God had a plan that blew Joseph's mind and that blew the minds of his brothers and his father. And God brought them all back together. There was forgiveness, there was love, there was provision, because God was in control. Aren't you glad God's in control of our life too? So have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.